a blockchain launches, a blockchain.
Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Whoops. Get the right screen on here. There we go. All right. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully everyone is able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead and all that fun stuff. The screen layout's going to look a little bit different. We've got a couple changes that really exciting changes that took place, but a couple modifications to the screen layout as you'll see as we continue on in the morning. But of course, before we get into all that fun stuff, make sure on the right side of the screen there to read through the Live Trader Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that's inside there. Oh, sorry, hang on one second. You know when you think you mute something, but then you don't? All right, there we go. Good morning. Hey, how's it going there? Good morning, Steven, Terry, Brad, everybody else so far, good morning. I just want to take a second like we do every day. While I sound like a teenager with my voice cracking over here. Jeez. All of our new members. Just want to take a second like we do every day to thank all of the new members, subscribers, Academy students, VIPs, and everyone in between. Welcome to the SSFTG fam. I'm super excited to have you all on board. If you aren't part of the SSFTG side of things in one way, shape, or another, there are a ton of different ways to join up. The easiest way is to join as a YouTube member with the join button below the stream. Gets you in the chat room with Discord, the YouTube community board with stock and crypto chart posts, and just a bit more behind the scenes and what's going on. Of course, if you want to understand how we do everything and our day trading approach and all that fun stuff, you can find out all of that over on the Day Trading Academy and VIP memberships and everything else waiting for you over at ssftg.com. So, whether this is the first time or the 1000th for you, good morning and welcome. I hope you're all ready to rock and roll alongside me today, analyzing these crazy markets of ours. Yeehaw! We've got plenty of movement. We got plenty of stuff going on. Good morning, good morning. Yesterday's swings off of the bases worked out beautifully. Coming into this morning with some really, really nice bounces. The cryptocurrency side of things, on the other hand, is a total sea of red, except for Crow. That's the one that we've been backing for the last, well, you know, so when did we talk about that video? The dollar a day strategy? Well, that's up 25% while everything else is getting slaughtered. Oh, man. Did also hear some news announcements about a gigantic Ethereum whale buying, like, was it $30 million more worth of Shiba? Bringing their total to like $40 million of their... I mean, it's crazy. They're tracking this gigantic Ethereum whale buying Shiba. Quite a position, if you ask me. Sheesh. Anyway, don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you every single morning on the Major 7. Nasdaq, S&P, Gold, Crude, Euro, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. I should put Shiba on that list at this rate. Although I don't know if the deviations are going to be far enough. Yikes. Or all, either way, they're all waiting there for you. As far as the news calendar is concerned, the news calendar was pretty much done at 8:30, although, you know, it's always good to know what's going on throughout the day and all that fun stuff, and that kind of leads me into some of the changes and all of that. But don't forget, today is also the last day for me this week. We've got November 5th tomorrow. We are going to be off with our family trip, and then going into next week, we are going into Thanksgiving and all that other stuff. So we've got Veterans Day and then Thanksgiving, and there's a lot of holidays coming up around the corner. So just keep in mind, I'll try to update this schedule as much as I can inside the morning brief when we're open, when we're not open, etc. I may miss a couple times, right? I'm human. So if I miss it, I'm sorry. I usually get that updated in the chat room. It'll be pretty obvious to figure out when nothing turns on. Yeah, like I said, I'll try to keep it updated as much as I can, but that's there for you. The news calendar, there's not much going on. So let's take a look at what's happening. Obviously, there are a couple extra little windows over here, and I'll talk about that in a second. But starting off on the Nasdaq and looking at what all is going on here, we've got some really strong continuation to the upside. The Nasdaq is rip-roaring higher, breaking. I mean, this thing's ridiculous. We broke above 16,000, and it looks like the 20,000 breakout on Bitcoin. Like, just never stopped, never looked back, never pulled back, no retest, no nothing, just straight up. So, I mean, with this amount of momentum higher, we already know what's going on from the 60-minute perspective, zooming way far out. We already know that we are in a large third wave of a significantly bigger 5-wave structure. But man, like, can we get a pullback, please? Jeez, oh Pete's. Doesn't stop. It keeps on rocking and rolling. So the first initial wave, wave 1, wave 2, we know that wave 2 is disgusting looking, so eventually, when there is a correction, because there always is a correction, it'll probably be sharp and aggressive. A lot of shorts are underwater here. Massively underwater. Like, this is, like we've been talking about. I mean, this is what it looks like when one side is getting squeezed. They're in the juicer. I mean, beyond the juicer. They went past pulp. Now they're on destroy and decimate at this point. I mean, the original rally to the upside, typically you're going to see like a 138, right? They made it up to a 3.8, and it did hold there for quite a while. And, you know, maybe that's wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and this is a Jumbotron wave 5. That is a possibility. But as it stands, that was really not much of a pullback at all. I mean, I really don't even want to call that a pullback. That was the first time it made a new low, I guess, to be fair, but that's it, you know? So, I mean, it fits. Wave 2 is disgusting. Maybe that is wave 4. It's a possibility. We can't rule it out, so it is there. And given the fact that it does line up with the minimums, it's not too bad. It's just a gigantic ABCD to the upside. But if we're looking at this from a slightly wider perspective, then we could also ascertain, if you will, that we've got a very strong wave 3 to the upside that hasn't quite completed. And when we're starting to go through the 238, all right, what's the next one? 2618. It's not too far away anymore. That's right up there, basically right on top of the half DP up. The corrective phase after that wave 3 into wave 4, I mean, it can pull back very far and still be totally fine. It would be even more interesting to combine these two together. Get a dip down to that wave 4 on the base, and then really get this thing screaming up like that. That'd be like a combo punch. Get it to trap underneath this little wave 4 over here. And then eventually get it to roll back up like this. I mean, we're talking massive cycles, right? This is very obviously farther out than a 15-minute. But it is at least good to note that it's there, you know? Where we are now is obviously the bulls just keep going up. You know, we had the question yesterday, and the question constantly comes in of how can we be so bullish? How can we keep? I mean, this is why. You know, it's because the stupid thing doesn't stop going up. It's one of those things. You know, like, man, I would love to short it, and I know funds are short. I also know those funds are massively underwater right now. I can't short it without a reason, and just don't have a reason. The only time they've actually broken a previous swing was back here in late October. Now we're going into early November, and no sign of stopping yet. Unbelievable. Looking at the S&P, even more unbelievable. This is a 60-minute perspective, if you're wondering why it looks maybe a little bit different. FOMO all the way up, exactly. Same thing here, you know, if not even a little bit more obvious. Wave 1, wave 2, disgusting wave 2. Not exactly sure what they want to do with it. Okay, maybe this is really, especially in the S&P, a lot more obvious for a wave 3 way the heck up here. Now, this could also, because of the way that the S&P set up, really? Come on now, keyboard. We've got this first move up. Or not keyboard, fingers. Fingers are flip-flopping all over the place here. Got this first dive down, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. Obviously, this would mean that this is a corrective phase and a finalized wave 5. I just don't see that fitting. This, to me, looks much more like a disgusting wave 2, which means that wave 4 is probably going to be sharp, fast, aggressive. And if we're looking at a point of interest that the market may want to come back to, disregarding all of this back and forth, because obviously if I include this, there's going to be a POC down there. But let's go all the way up on the impulse, from the bottom of this move to the top of this move, and see, how did the market respond to this momentum up? Right?
China energy is the call.
Not news yet. Come on now. Hold on. We've got more continuation up. Eventually, I think my volume should calculate. There we go. So if we're going to want a pullback from a volume perspective, that would make the most sense. That'd be right there, there, down to the POC, and back up. So that's kind of the area of interest right now. It's a deeper pullback on the S&P as well, especially on the S&P. Over on gold, gold went absolutely freaking crazy. In full disclosure, from what we were talking about before, my exit point was right here. I did not hold out for that jumbotron move to the upside. I started exiting when we started seeing sideways consolidation. That said, the follow-through is pretty incredible. I really didn't want to go for the follow-through going into the end of the day, and I just didn't want to deal with it. We were talking about that in the chat room on how traders, you know, if they don't want to hang out, they probably won't. And then over on crude oil also has that monstrous jumbotron of a move to the upside. I exited that one earlier this morning with that final push up into, what was that last portion? 81.83. Although this as well has also continued back to the upside. We had the initial bounce, got the scalp, dipped down into the next zone of support, held there for quite a while, reversed all the way back up, and that's kind of where it stands. So that's where we're at as far as, you know, those moves from yesterday go. Not really much else has happened since then. Caught a short, but now long at 59. Interesting, Ace. Okay. Missed the entry point 58. You blew your top step account yesterday shorting that crap. Ooh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. It's the thing is, you know, you're not alone. When I say you're not alone, I'm talking like banks. Like, there are banks that are still short this crap, and you know, fortunately / unfortunately for them, they have a ton of zeros, and if they continue shorting into it, they get more and more squeezed. Well, this last blow off, I think, at least, is either going to put the final nail in the coffin for those, and we just see this continue back up for that squeeze that I wrote a blog post about this, man, a couple months ago now, about that kind of move up. Just crazy. So, I mean, you're not alone. Not alone by any means. And those funds are getting blown up with this kind of momentum. It's crazy. Just got to stick with the trend. The top left of the screen there's square blocks there. Those are there for a reason. I'll get to that in a second. That'll go when we get into the next screen. I got you. Don't worry. Over on the euro, we've got a sideways continuation, which really isn't proving a whole lot. Although, again, from the vindictive perspective, remember what we were talking about? What's the most vindictive thing that can happen for bulls? They get trapped underneath that low, but it doesn't take the next low. There's a whole video about this. That's the bounce. Got him. So, I mean, they got the vindictive trap, rotten peckers. The overall movement, if we go from the top all the way to the bottom and look at the impulse perspective of it first, that's way up at the high. Continue this into that next inside low. We've got a POC down at the bottom. Maybe bulls are trying to pick it up. We get a dip back to that POC. They defend. They get another rally to the upside. They try to break above the highs and fail. So when they failed with this rally up, where is this rally probably going to go? Right there. 15,905. That's where the sellers are going to look to try to regain control back to the downside. Especially noting that the bulls got just maimed on this rally to the upside. Vicious. Crypto across the board is mostly a sea of red. There's not really much going on there. Just a heads up, as I talked about in the chat room on Discord, there is going to be a little bit of a different look to the screen today because of a couple really cool new developments. Going forward, we've worked on a partnership with Financial Juice. So how freaking awesome is that? We've got Financial Juice running in the background now, so there's more details for that coming around the corner. But as far as Financial Juice goes, we've got that running along with Tick Strike, which is what you see in the top left corner. Tick Strike is just that little poppy, we jokingly call it the popcorn, the sound in the background when the market's going up and down. That's that. So As far as what you're seeing in the top left, you'll see these light up in green and red, and we will also audibly hear them. That is Tick Strike running in the background, as well as Financial Juice running in the background. So that's what those are. It's a little bit of a different look. I've got the Nasdaq and the S&P as our primaries because really that's all we were trading anyway. And if there were swing setups, we would see that on the 15-minute chart regardless. So I felt like it was finally time to make that change and swap things over to what we're doing predominantly anyway, which is the Nasdaq and the S&P. So that's the layout that we have here. The top left is Tick Strike to show us the amount of strength that's coming in, and we can also back that on order flow to kind of see what's happening. Another really useful tool that we can utilize along with that, which is something that we've had on and off the screen for a long time, but time and sales, just to visually see what's happening there as well. Not a necessity, but useful. Financial Juice, yeah, it's one that I've talked about for a really long time. We've used Financial Juice for a long time. Then they kind of went in-house, and the in-house model, I kind of wanted to wait to see what their payment structure was going to be. Because if you look at a lot of the other news desks, the other news desks are like $300 a month, $400 a month. It's insane. That's just not my jam. Like I'm trying to bring this to people of realistic means. You know what I mean? Like $400 a month. Like that's a car payment. What do you mean for news? Whereas Financial Juice, it's $400 or $500 for a year, and I think a lifetime license is $1,000. It's just that's 2 months in some of these other news feeds, and you've paid for a lifetime license. It's crazy. So once I saw their pricing structure, that definitely sealed the deal for me. And we got in touch with one another, and we got things going. So in the top right corner, you'll see the Financial Juice feed running. If you're interested in Financial Juice, you'll be able to head over to their website, and you can see Tick Strike and the news feed and all of that stuff. They do have a delayed news feed as well for the free participants. But again, it's a very, very cost-effective alternative if you're looking for a news feed. Tick Strike thing works, yeah. It's a visualized time and sales, basically. I mean, you're seeing it play out in that way. So that's why the screens look a little bit different, and that's why things look slightly different. Another really... This is what really got me, right? If I have a question about a news announcement, because like I'm not a big news... Like, I don't trade the news, per se, although sometimes we do with inventories. Not gonna lie. There's that popcorny sound right there, that red. But the fact that when you have a question, you know, like for me, it's like, man, what, I gotta Google this and all the. Okay, here's right here, this little button, News Desk. You can literally ask the news desk a question. They'll respond audibly or in chat. It's crazy. You have a direct link to them. That blew my mind. I was like, okay, done. Check mark. It's game time. So that's why there's a change in the way that the screen looks and the way that the layout is managed, because there was a couple new partnerships that happened, and super excited about it. So we'll have that running in the background. We'll have news running. We'll have Tick Strike, so you can see it, what's going on. We've got the Nasdaq and the S&P Tick Strikes on the top left. Hey, laddie, how's it going? How can I get that chart set up? The chart set up, like the layout that we have. I do have all of the charts and the layouts and everything in the download section of the Academy, but I just updated this last night. So these in the layout that I have here is not set in stone yet. So I haven't updated it in the download for members because honestly, it might change a little bit, right? It's got to go with the flow and it's got to feel right. And we'll know after today. If it's solid after today, then I'll drop it in Discord so everybody's got it. Give it a couple more days. As long as it's good, then we'll drop it for the download. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot more straightforward. And I mean, honestly, we were only trading the Nasdaq and the S&P predominantly anyway, so why not just make those bigger? You know, it's just kind of made sense. I don't know. How is that different from the time and sales in NinjaTrader? So the Tick Strike is showing you, and you can set different settings. The entirety of it is actually a whole downloadable window. So you can go into the settings. They have tick strike for stocks, ETFs, internals. So if you want the advancers, decliners, and all of that, you can see all of those too. Forex, yes, there's crypto. So if you want Bitcoin or Ethereum or something, but if you go into the settings, you can. There we go. You can see what it's talking about. So the positive strikes and negative strikes is what those pops are. In those strike points, that's their thing. I don't know how they programmed it, but generally speaking, I notice it when there is a massive, like a flush, a big flood. Something big is usually happening when tick strike starts blowing up. Now, we have to use it in context, right? And that's why I think it's such a massive benefit for our style of trading, because we're gauging the psychological underlying anyway. So I can look at a time in sales, but the problem with the time in sales, it goes way too fast, right? We already know that. It goes a mile a minute, a mile a second, really. And if we look at the order flow by itself, right, we can see the major points of interest, but we're only seeing part of the story there as well. We're not seeing how quickly it came in, how quickly it went out, etc. So by combining all of these aspects together, we're getting the best of all worlds, right? We're seeing visually when things are actually starting to take place, and you'll see it in action today, in terms of where it starts hitting and all of that. So, you like the layout? Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot more simplistic. I think it'll be a bigger benefit for our approach in general, really. Now, speaking of swings, because yesterday's swings worked incredibly well, I'm pissed at myself that I'm not still in them. Jeez, gold all the way back up. It actually got that 17-1. I'm just saying.
Bank of England Bailey says activity in the housing market is still very strong.
Unbelievable. So as far as the overall movement is concerned, I mean, first off, gold, it's looking like its normal self, pokey, and
Bank of England's Bailey says my warnings on
it
rates
fits.
have been very clear, but they were conditional.
If we're looking at the overall movement, a lot of times these jumps to the upside are, well, when they stop, they tend to be short-lived. So when we start seeing some bearishness coming in here, I have to look at this from a common sense standpoint and say, well, I mean, every time we've had a jumbo move to the upside, it kind of fell flat on its face. Big move up, fell flat on its face. Big move up, flat on its face. Big move up, flat on its face. At this point, it's got to get pretty bruised, you know? So we've got another big move up.
Ever said that rates would go up in November?
I'm not expecting much, you know? We'll see. Crude oil and gold are, like, they've left the DPs in the dust. They're gone. Like, we're in a different realm right now in terms of the DP levels. It's obviously something fundamental going on. We already know what that is, FOMC and a lot of other stuff. So, looking internally so far on the 2,000 tick, I'm sorry, the 500 tick on the Nasdaq first. Let's start on the Nasdaq first. We're kicking off the day with an attempted rally to the upside, and man, I mean, it kind of fell flat on its face, really. They tried getting the continuation up. It's got a nice bull channel higher. It's broken, but it hasn't really come back, you know, and that's kind of the issue that we're stuck in right now, is that we've broken. The bulls are going to be looking for the continuation up, but so far it's been nothing but failures. Lower high, lower high, lower high, all the way across. If we measure this entire thing, the bottom technically happened at 9 p.m. Can't include that one, but we can include this one. The initial rally to the upside was massively bottom weighted, 16,159. Now, if we go over here to the next lower high where the bulls tried and failed, we can see that their balance point was right there at around 190. So that's where they were trying off of, obviously. If we go a little bit further to the next lower high, not much has changed. They're trying to get above it. They're trying to get above it. And then they finally break down. When the market breaks down through that area with a decisive break, where did it come back to? So it seems like, right, a lot of bulls, they got out of the way. So, I mean, we'll see. But looks like a lot of them ditched.
Bank of England's Ramsden says supply at the end of the forecast horizon is about 2% lower and reflects demographics, COVID scarring and changed labour force participation.
Just so you can see the time and sales take place with the...
Bank of England's Ramsden adds, I don't think our estimated 1% COVID-related scarring has changed that much.
I don't like that as much. I'm going to bump it in this way instead. I like this being wider. How small can I make it until those times disappear? There it is. But we can kind of hide it behind there. There we go. And then, ooh, that's even better, because now we can put this right up here. And it's not in the way of anything. Ha! Perfect. There we go. Beautiful. Now we got ourselves a layout. I like that. Let me save it. Don't forget to save your work. Get rid of the bottom right chart so it's not so bright on my screen. I got to figure out a way to make that a little bit darker. But I'm definitely not getting rid of that. that's an incredibly important thing that has to stay on screen. Common sense isn't all too common these days, you know. Bulls trying to get a continuation back to the upside, predominantly sideways though, and there's not a whole lot going on. We've got under a minute until the open. I just got to invert it. Dark background, white text. Yep. The problem is this. It's a picture, so I've got to do it a different way. It's not as easy to change on the fly, unfortunately. All right, here we go. Stock exchange is open in 5 seconds. No news today that we have to worry about. Please buy a bigger monitor so I can see it better. I might have to get the swap out to the TV, huh? While you're there, tell Murphy to get out of that frickin' bush. I told him yesterday. Got a little continuation phase to the downside. Bears starting to step up to the plate a little bit, but a lot of volume down here would suggest that this might be an area where bulls might be gobbling this zone up a little bit. From the short term, they've got a little baby microcycle. Rather see a bit more sell pressure if they can try to trap above the 72s. It would look a lot more opportune for the sellers to try to drive down. Or not. That's fine too. Okay.
Bank of England's Bailey says that stagflation isn't a very useful word.
Stagflation. We've got a little bit of wicking going on down at the lows. Seems like buyers are trying to pick up the dip. If we're looking at it from a wider perspective, it kind of makes sense, right? This is the base of that previous support down in the 150s. Ooh, man, what a bounce. That's a relatively strong bull push. Sellers are going to have to show up pretty aggressively to sweep that down. Okay. Well, they definitely showed back up to the party. I'd like to see if they can get a pop into the upper 60s for shorts to try to pressure back down into. Nope. I'm not getting the correction that I want. From the swing perspective, I mean, nothing is really in a zone of interest anymore. Gold was, and now it's not. Crude was, and now it's not. So there's not really anything from a swing perspective, at least not yet. Nasdaq bulls seem like they're trying to make another press to the upside here. Really strong bullish response off of the lows, and that congestive volume between the 60s and 70s seems like it held price up pretty aggressively so far. Shorts might feel like they're a bit contested, but I mean, the bulls don't even have a higher high. So, I mean, I guess, maybe. Okay, sellers losing a bit more ground. That's a nice bear bar for shorts to try to take it lower. Doesn't look like anybody showed up to the party, though. Nobody. Trap above the highs, so if it does go lower, it's probably going to be a bit more vindictive and not go as far. The shorts aren't getting anything. And that's a really nice bear follow-through. Looking for a continuation pulse back to the downside. All right, I'm going to jump ship on that next pulse. I did not get the follow-through that I wanted. Of course it is now, but that was a little bit of a herky-jerk move that they had inside of there. All right, now sellers have a reason with a bit more context. See if they can pulse back up in the... Really? I got missed. I got top asked and I didn't get filled. Looking to see if they can get a pulse back into the low 70s for shorts to try to pressure down. But remember, this is an area of possible disappointment. The bulls are a little bit stuck further up. It might be nice to see them jerk just a bit further. Oh, wait a minute. Why are the buys buying underneath that last bull bar? Hold on. Okay. Sellers starting to show back up to the party. Oh man, they are putting up a heck of a fight. What happened to my tick counter? Hang on a second. I gotta get my... Where are you at, tick counter? I don't know why it's not on there, but it needs to be on there. There we go. That's a really nice bull bar back to the upside. Looking for the bulls to gain a continuation phase back to the upside. It could also possibly be a trap that sellers sweep back down, but I think that the sellers have tried way too many times and they're not getting it. Holy crap, just got the scalp. Whoa! Whoa, man alive. Woo, lordy. I stuck my hand in the alligator's mouth there. Woof. Still got all my fingers? Jeez, oh Pete's, that went fast. Shake off the fingers, make sure they're all there. Holy cow. Bulls snapping back to the upside again, but man, that move down kind of freaks me out a little bit. Okay, how about the S&P? The S&P is doing a whole lot of nothing. And there's always that. $70.75 is the first 5 POC. Market dipping back down to that point. That's also where a lot of shorts tried going short, and with this bounce back up, it may be that they're trying to get out.
To U.S. Treasury Secretary Yellen to implement a Corporate Transparency Act.
Corporate Transparency Act. That'd be the day. Bulls are trying to get something going back above the 70.75s. POC jumping around a little bit here on the Nasdaq. Sellers trying to get this to pressure down. Ooh, whoa, that was really bad for them. Holy crap. Possible zone of resistance. If the bulls are going to take it, they really have to break through these 80s to 85s. This is a nasty zone. They're trying. Good push. Nice little washout flush. Maybe sub 80s if they can get it. Or not. Likely continuation on a little bit of a dip here. Couldn't get the extra fill. There we go. Looking for the bull continuation phasing back through the, preferably through the 85s up to the 90s would be the objective, but got bottom bid, no fill. Take the first couple off there around that break-even point, bring down the risk a little bit. Seems like the bears are trying to fist fight over this area, so I don't necessarily want to step on too many toes. I do think that the shorts are possibly stuck from farther down, but it didn't make sense to hold on if they're not going to get it going. Of course, it didn't give me any time to grab anything down there, but bull continuation above that last bull bar will likely see prices back up to the 85s. Trying to get a little bit of a trap on the lows for a rotation back up. Alright, I'm going to jump there. Having a hard time on that last portion, so be it. Of course, now that I'm out is when it's going to go.
But asset trade on regulated market.
They had a heck of a time trying to get that one going.
For correction, SEC's Pierce saying that Gensler likes to see assets.
POC holding 75 quarter.
SEC's Pierce comments during a major newswire financial innovation summit. Pierce comments on why the SEC hasn't approved a Bitcoin ETF.
Well, I guess let's continue this way over here. We're still hanging out with a POC up in the 90s. What about if we go into the US? It's still at the 90s. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Can the bulls get back above the 90s and prove that they can try to take it? Or is that just a break even? Guess we'll have to wait and see how they respond. Now that 15-minute bar looks pretty good. S&P picking up on some buying. Did they test it? To the tick. Okay. To the tick. So we can ask ourselves, what's the most vindictive thing that could happen right now? If you ask me, a trap underneath that swing at 75 would be a pretty vindictive thing to happen. Thing is, I don't know if it's going to pull back that far. Buyers are still gobbling this up like it's going out of style. Look at all these wicks. They're not letting off. Quick little flash dip underneath the low and immediately snapped higher. That really kind of tells you the intention of the bulls here. Yeah. We got a break above those 90s now. Clear break above the 90s. Bulls are fully on tilt. Or sellers are getting fully squeezed, whichever way you want to look at it. See if you can get a little bit of a flip back down into the 90s. Would be nice to even see like the 85s, 86s. The bulls are still keeping this pressured up to the top. They're not even letting it pull back. Okay, a little bit of wick going on in the highs. Let's see if they can get a dip. Come on, Nasdaq. Guess not. Bulls still pressing the top. S&P is lighting up like a Christmas tree as it gets back closer to the highs. Big pulse. Let's bring the threshold on the Nasdaq down to like 5 and see if that's a bit more beneficial. The S&P, maybe like a 7. We'll play with it. Nasdaq's screaming to the upside, breaking above the top. Everything's lighting up. It's like a Geiger counter in here. Radioactive. This thing's lit up right now. Jeez. S&P breaking above the highs, taking out likely a lot of stops up here. Very likely a lot of stops. Finally pulling back a little bit off the top. Now, as far as the last overall rally structure goes, we had an L5, which led into an L4, which led into a 2, which led into a 2, which led into... Oh, it didn't hit a 1. So another 2 would be nice. That would be a repetition. But it looks like the 1s are buying it. So, doesn't matter if I want a 2 if the 1s are in the way. L1 buyers continuing it back up to another new high. We've got a little bit of a zone now at around the 975s or so, and it lines up with the L1 just underneath it again for a retest. Although, you know, again, I would still prefer an L2. Alphabet Inc.'s Google has invested $1 billion in CME Group and has struck a separate deal to move the exchange operator's trading system to the cloud. Ooh. Thank you for posting that. We'll see.
As we were seeing from a Twitter source here, the JMMC supports no change to the OPEC policy, according to sources. So that basically easing the cuts by 400,000 barrels.
Market's still pinned up at the highs. Very little pullback. All markets popping through the top again. Still no pullback, but hey, you know what? That base is getting closer to the L2.
Frost will meet with European Commission Vice President Stefanovic.
L1 is still likely to see supportiveness.
Frost will also meet Frost and Francis Boone met in Paris this morning.
All right, couldn't even make it back to L1. Fair enough. Still no pullback. If we're looking at the S&P obviously doesn't have that same type of move, but it's still pinned up at the highs. The Nasdaq zone of interest, if we can get a dip back down, I would really like to see the 17s. Locked in 58 points. Nice job. Fantastic work. Drinks are on Caesar.
We are expecting comments from...
Yeah, no joke. Call it a day. Great job.
Just a correction, at the top of the hour, we're expecting comments from ECB's Elderson. Participation by Elderson in his capacity as the NGFS chair in leadership sessions.
Both sides set out Brexit concerns in Frost Boone talks according to the UK.
Nasdaq gaining a little bit of downward pressure, likely some longs exiting out of their longs, seeing some profit taking. Usually when the market stops going up so aggressively, that's when you see people taking profit. Let's see if they want to keep going up after that and the buyers are buying the dip or not. Usually from a volume profile perspective, if you were to draw a profile on this from the start of the move, this is where they begin creating a top-weighted POC. Yeah, like this. And if it is going to break out above the highs, that's where you would utilize that measurement. There was a YouTube video not too long ago about this, about measuring the bottom to that volume node and then transposing it up. The likely breakout distance for right now, at least, would put targets up at 16,272 if it were to go. Jeez, the bulls are not stopping. This is ridiculous. Bull engulfing candle now. This is crazy. Off we go! Wow, wow, wee, wow, what a move. This thing is screaming right now. Haven't even really had a chance to look at the wow, that's a first. Looking at the volume on Femex, Ethereum is the leader. Bitcoin is second. I don't know that I've ever seen that. Wow, okay. As far as Femex volume is concerned, Ethereum has overtaken Bitcoin. Today, the top three are Ethereum first, Bitcoin second, Link, then Tezos, and then ADA fifth. Wow. That's kind of impressive. Can you say climactic top? Yeah, seriously. At this point, I'm asking myself, should I just click the buy button? That usually means we're close to the top. Now, that's only if you hit the buy button, though. See, that's how Murphy works. If you hit the buy button, it's the top. So let me know before you do that, okay? It's called FOMO. We've all been there. This is one of the hardest things to sit through. Is watching the market go away from, even if you had a fantastic, I mean, you could have had a trade from all the way down here to all the way up here, and you would still feel like you're missing out, right? That's FOMO. So when you have a situation like that, this is where the rules start coming into play. That's why we have entry patterns and things, because just buying the high, hoping that it goes further up is dangerous, would be an understatement, but it's just pure emotion. And sometimes emotional trades will work. That's how you build bad habits. But, you know. We're breaking above this middle point on the POC, right? So what does this tell us? Now that we've cleared above this objective, I have a green light to start buying again. Right? I don't have anything in my way anymore, or at least there's less. So now I can start buying the dip again. We've cleared through all of the crap in my way. And we know that there's still upside momentum room for the bulls to try to pick it back up to the highs. See if you can get a little bit of a dip down into the 33s, 32s would be really nice. Got about 5 minutes until 10 o'clock right around the corner. Would also be really nice to see a dip back to 23, hashtag just saying.
Keep in mind in 5 minutes time.
Mid 30s would be nice,
ECB
mid to low.
Is due to speak.
As far as the 5-minute chart is concerned, this has candle gapping after candle gapping after candle gapping all the way up and creating a new one, in fact. As far as the candle gapping is concerned, upside objectives would tell us that the first objective... Where the heck is it? We actually just hit. That was the first candle gap objective. So the second candle gap
That's what we're seeing
objective
from a
then.
source here, saying that the recommendation from the JMMC is to continue easing the cuts by 400,000 barrels. And after the meeting, the ministers will hold a press conference.
16,272. $16,250. 252 fast approaching. Yep, we've got a lot of stuff up here. Big volume node we left behind in the upper 30s, although I wanted to see the lower 30s, but I've had to watch this whole thing go without me, so I mean, at this point, I'm spelling socks all day here. SOCKS. S&P is breaking above the highs and following through as well, now looking like a mini Nasdaq. No pullbacks. $225, $226 wouldn't be half bad if they can get a little bit of a larger pullback. $223 would be really nice back at the POC.
The OPEC Plus panel is to recommend a 400,000 barrels a day December supply hike, according to OPEC delegates now. So OPEC Plus
correct me if I'm
panel
wrong,
is
is
to
the candle
recommend
gap on the
a
ES
400K barrel a day December
46.79?
supply hike, according to delegates.
46.79. Let's see here. This is a monster. Uh, 73. Gotcha. Yeah, 73. Mine's 73 quarter, give or take a measurement, right? Yep, that is the candle gap target. Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. Seeing some selling pressure coming in off the highs. Remember, this is a massive rally to the upside, and bulls aren't going to want to hang into this for very long and give up all of their profit. They will jump ship a little bit faster on moves like this. Possibility of a twin reversal, though, could kick it back up. Nasdaq continuation dip sub 45s for the scalpers on that twin reversal low would be looking for a continuation. Couldn't get a fill. Scalp out at the top. Obviously, this is all scalpers territory. It's way too far up to be able to do anything other than scalp, but I'll take those little micro opportunities where they show up, I guess. Looking at the as we go into 10 o'clock and begin transitioning over into the extended session, feel free to get those last questions in, and we'll swap over. Today is the 4th, so looking at the movement for today, and unfortunately, because yesterday has some swings, today's numbers are going to look kind of weird, really. Yeah, that's going to throw everything off. Okay. Well, I have to include yesterday because of the swings on gold and crude. The numbers just look totally whacked out. And the numbers really haven't changed much from yesterday. So I mean, 38 total trades between yesterday and today, 81.58%. Looking at just the Nasdaq today, we haven't had any S&P, so I should be able to at least look at the Nasdaq for today. There we go. All right, so just for the Nasdaq today, 9 total trades, 55.56% accuracy. The accuracy is kind of not so great today, but the largest win being twice as large as the largest losing trade, and an average of 1.31 kept it in positive territory. So it's just the Nasdaq. That doesn't include any of the other trades from yesterday into today, those swings, but not too bad. So going into 10 o'clock, getting a little bit of a dip back on the Nasdaq to fill in some of that candle gapping. Although I would still like to see the lower 30s if possible. We are also going into the extended session, so if I missed any questions, feel free to get those to me in the comment section below on YouTube side, or shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com. Otherwise, though, that's going to do it. Hopefully you all had a fantastic day today. It was a really, really good day of movement as long as you were able to catch it. That's the big caveat for today, is as long as you were able to catch it, you did fine. And if you didn't, well, learn from it and come back tomorrow ready to rock and roll. Either way, I hope you had a fantastic day, but that's going to do it. So for those of you who are ducking out for the rest of the day, like I said, I hope you had an amazing day of trading with me in the room. And if you have any questions, you know where to get a hold of me. But let's transition over for you extended members and VIPs and all that. Just listen to me babble to myself for a second. For the rest of you, we will see you all tomorrow morning, all right? Have a good one, and we will talk to y'all later. Thanks.